Hello everyone, welcome to Simply Current Affairs. I am Dr. Roopavi. Before getting into today's editorial discussion, I would like to inform you that the feedback for yesterday's mains question will be given by Guna Mathivanan sir in tomorrow's session. Having said that, let's get into today's discussion. And today's topic is very much important from both prelims and mains perspective. That is featured in Lancet scientific journal, and it is about antimicrobial resistance. First, we'll try to understand what is antimicrobial resistance. Followed by that, we will explore the causes of antimicrobial resistance and what are the implications we will see. Also, we will see the global and national measures to combat AMR, and finally the way forward. So this is how our discussion is going to be for today. First, we'll try to understand what is antimicrobial resistance. Before that, we need to know what are antimicrobials. See, antimicrobials, as the name suggests, anti means against. Microbials is referring to microorganisms. So, any drug that is given to treat the infections caused by microorganisms, we call it as antimicrobials. See, antibiotics are something that are specific only to bacterial infection. The drugs that treat the bacterial infection, we say it as antibiotics. Similarly, for viral infection, they are antivirals. For fungal infection, they are antifungals. These all put together a broader term called antimicrobials. So, any microorganism, right? And antimicrobial resistance means this is the resistance developed by any microorganism against antimicrobials that are used to treat such infections. See, let us assume that you have a fever. You go to a doctor. The doctor is prescribing you certain antibiotics. You are consuming it. Even after consuming, fever doesn't get subsided, which means the infection is still ongoing. What does this mean? The microorganism that is responsible for causing the infection, which in turn causes the fever, is not responding to the antibiotic that you have consumed, which means the microorganism is getting resistant to the antibiotic that you have consumed. So the broader term, we say this as antimicrobial resistance. I hope you got some clarity about what is antimicrobial resistance. Now let's explore the causes for antimicrobial resistance. See, the first one being irrational use of the antibiotics or antimicrobials. So what do you mean by irrational use? Misuse of antibiotics, which means for a particular disease, the antibiotics are not at all necessary. Let us assume that it is a viral infection. So for a viral infection, you are supposed to take antivirals, but for which you are consuming antibiotic means then it can result in antimicrobial resistance. This is one reason. The another one being overuse of antibiotics. Getting exposed to the same antibiotics again and again can also result in antimicrobial resistance or antibiotic resistance. And certain people, they get over-the-counter medication. Instead of meeting the doctor, they go directly to the medical shop, they purchase the medicine and they consume it. Right? And the fourth cause is incomplete treatment. The first scenario which we discussed, you have a fever, you're going to a doctor, the doctor is prescribing you certain antibiotics. Now, let us assume that the doctor is asking you to consume the antibiotics for 5 days at least. But what we actually do is, we take it for 2 days and we stop because we get a symptomatic relief. That is, there will be no fever, there will be no body pain. So, since we feel good, we think that we are okay, we stop consuming the antibiotics that the doctor asked to consume for 5 days, we stop it in 2 days itself, right? So what happens in this case, the bacteria that we targeted using the antibiotic, it is still surviving. It tries to adapt to that situation and it gets resistant to that particular antibiotic. So this is also a causative factor for antimicrobial resistance. Apart from this, it can also occur naturally, like the pathogens. Due to some genetic changes, they themselves get resistant to certain antibiotics. So it can also occur in a natural process. The third cause being lack of proper hygiene, sanitation. Let us take, we all know that there are ongoing wars in Gaza, Ukraine. So in these war-torn countries, what happens? The health infrastructure or the health system is already collapsed. So they don't have proper access to clean water, sanitation, and even the healthcare facilities. So in that case also antibiotic resistance or antimicrobial resistance can occur. And there are so much of communicable diseases in case of India. For example, tuberculosis or any respiratory infection. What do you mean by communicable disease? When a disease can get easily transmitted from one person to another, we call it as communicable disease. So these diseases mostly respond only to the antibiotics. So in that case, when we consume so much of antibiotics, then people can get antimicrobial resistance. And this is also a cause for antimicrobial resistance. So apart from this, people are unaware of the consequences of antimicrobial resistance. So since they don't know, they take the antibiotics inappropriately. So these are all the causes of antibiotic resistance or antimicrobial resistance for that matter. Now, is that antimicrobial resistance very serious? Yes, of course it is very serious, and that's why we are going to see the implications of AMR. See, in the first case we discussed, you are taking antibiotic but you are not responding to that antibiotic, which means the infection is still persisting. So you want higher or stronger antibiotic to combat that. So we need proper stronger antibiotic, for which whether the research is ongoing or not, that is a challenge in case of tackling AMR. The second one is economic burden and health burden in case of India. See, when you don't get treated for an infection, the infection or the medicine which you consumed becomes ineffective, then the infection may require prolonged stay in the hospitals. It can increase the out-of-pocket expenditure, right? So this is one more thing. And estimates are suggesting that antimicrobial resistance can cause 5 to 7% of GDP loss by 2030, right? And WHO is saying that antimicrobial resistance is one of the top 10 global health threat. And we have to somehow address this antimicrobial resistance issue, and for which we have certain measures in place. Globally, WHO, World Health Organization, has come up with a global action plan on antimicrobial resistance. It is advocating for One Health approach. And based on this global action plan, India has adopted the global action plan, and it has framed a national action plan on antimicrobial resistance, which is also advocating One Health approach. See, One Health approach is nothing but it is a unified, integrated approach which tries to balance human health, animal health, and the environment or the ecosystem. So this is One Health approach. So apart from this, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has come up with a red line awareness campaign. So according to this campaign, it is urging the people to not buy certain medicines which have a red vertical line in it, including antibiotics, to prevent the irrational use of antibiotics. So this is also one more measure. And the other measure in India is National Antibiotic Stewardship Program we have. What does this mean? It says that right antibiotics has to be prescribed for the right disease, right dose, and for the right duration, and only if it is necessary it has to be prescribed. So this measure is also put in place. Over-the-counter sale of antibiotics is also not encouraged. So these are all the measures put in place. Along with this, WHO has global surveillance system for antimicrobial resistance. This is to ensure global coordinated effort. So these are all the measures put in place. However, this antimicrobial resistance is still emerging as a global public health threat. WHO is suggesting that if antimicrobial resistance continues to be the same as of now, then by 2050, antimicrobial resistance will become the leading cause of death in the world. Then see how alarming is the crisis, right? So what can be the way forward? See, first of all, global coordinated effort should be put in place, because this is not something that India only have to deal with. So this can occur anywhere. So global coordinated effort is one thing, and it has to be put in a political agenda, for which we can make use of global forums like G20 and UN. so this antimicrobial resistance has to be discussed in those global forums so that it gains the proper attention which is needed right now. Right? So this is one first thing, and public awareness campaigns has to be done in a large scale so that people will use the antibiotics rationally. So what are all the causes I said? From there we can bring the way forward. One thing what I said, irrational use of drugs. So we have to rationalize the use of antibiotics. And one more cause which I forgot to say was, see, these antibiotics are being used in the livestock like poultry and animal farming as growth promoters. So this is also a reason for increasing antimicrobial resistance. So that has also to be rationalized. And also usage of antimicrobials in agriculture has to be reduced. Global Innovation Fund has to be formed to support research on forming the stronger antibiotics. Although India has shown commitment towards National Action Plan on AMR, the need of the hour is to frame a new National Action Plan on AMR that addresses the current challenges as well. I hope you got some clarity on antimicrobial resistance. So based on our discussion, I am giving you a mains question for which you are supposed to write an answer. Despite widespread acknowledgement of antimicrobial resistance as a major health challenge, effective mitigation remains elusive. Examine the shortcomings in addressing this issue. This is a 10 marker. You are supposed to write 150 words for this question, and submit your answers to UPSC with gunasar@gmail.com, and once you have submitted, kindly comment that you have submitted the answer. Let me meet you in another discussion. Until then, keep following our editorial analysis playlist and get benefited. Thank you.